Hello, let's do the easy and hard Starstruck for December 30th. Start with the easy. It's called slash. Maybe there's a slash in it. There sure is. All right, this is just a gimme. Now that gives this one, and that gives yellow. Okay, so gray touches all of these and the rest of this row. And so this is the only place in blue. This is the only place in gray. Only place in orange, brown, and then dark blue. All right. Pretty straightforward, easy today, as long as you know the rules of the game. So, in case you don't, we're placing exactly one star in every row, every column, and every region, and the stars aren't allowed to touch even diagonally. So you can see that I have fulfilled that. All right, let's move on to the hard. Ooh, it's an interesting looking one today. It's called postage stamp. Okay. So, okay, so we can start with this yellow and this gray region. They're going to use up the first two columns because we're going to have a star in yellow and a star in gray. And so these first two columns can only have one star each. And so the rest of the column cannot have a star. Same thing with gray and red. Those two columns can't have the rest. Now this formation removes from those two on the top and bottom and the rest of its row. These two remove from its top and bottom and the rest of its row. And now we get the gray and we get the yellow. See how it did use up both of those columns. What else do we have going on here? This is the only place for dark blue. Gray, brown is going to put it either here or here, and so that uses up the rest of the row. Red uses up the rest of its row. It's the only two places in this dark red. We have these two blues. What else can I do here? A little sticky here. This cell here touches all of the greens, so it can't be in. Okay, so these bottom three rows are going to be used by purple, orange, and green, but that doesn't actually tell us anything because purple, orange, and green already only use those three rows. Nothing else wants to, so that doesn't help. And then red's going to use one of these two. Blue's going to use one of these two. This dark red's going to use one of these two. And then the brown uses one of these two. So maybe there's something going on with columns that I haven't noticed. No, not really. Okay, we're going to have to get a little creative here. What's like a... Is there a good place to look here? We could pick like one of these reds or one of these dark reds and see if there's any shared consequences. Could pick one of these browns. This brown actually forces quite a bit because it would... I'll pull out my pen so that you don't have to imagine with me. But this star would X out this, right? So it would force a star here, which X's out that, which forces a star here. That's kind of what I saw in my head. And so that's just, to me, that's just quite a lot, right? It has a big effect. So things with big effects either are going to finish the puzzle or are going to break easily. So what we're looking for is which one of those it does. And we can actually see that it also places here. I'm getting suspicious this might be the answer. So I'm wondering if we can look at the other direction. Because it hasn't broken yet, right? It doesn't mean it's the answer, but let's see. These aren't in. These aren't in. These aren't in. And if you don't have a pen tool to use, you can just plonk the stars and see the consequence, and you can always undo back if it was wrong. Yeah, I don't want to go too much further here, but what if the star was here? Is there any interesting consequence of that? This is kind of the problem. Like, there's a huge, really interesting consequence of a star here, which makes me think it's correct. A star here does almost nothing, right? It crosses these out, but that doesn't tell us anything interesting to do. So that's probably not the best place to look. What we want is a place with two options where both options have a big effect. I'm wondering if this star has an effect, because I can see that this star would at least have a cascade. This star really just takes out of these cells and this one. But it doesn't really do much more than that, so that's not a great place to look either. Is there anyone else with two options? We did brown. How about this red? This doesn't seem to have much of an effect on anything. This one would. Okay. Um, we know these three rows are used by orange, purple, and green. Huh. Nothing else really seems very restricted. Something I've been noticing is we have this kind of inner box created by three regions, but it spans 4 rows and 4 columns. So the 3 stars that go in there, we're going to need one more star in the rows. Well, we're not going to get. Oh, wait, hold on. One. Oh, I see. This is already used up. Oh, okay. So actually, what we can say is the 3 stars for dark red, blue, and red are going to use up these 3 rows, which is already kind of marked. But it's also going to end up using 3 out of 4 of these columns. I don't know what to do with that information, to be honest. Maybe the blue has an effect either way, so maybe we should track blue then. That's one thing I haven't looked at yet. So this star here forces a star here. This is X'd out, this is X'd out, and it forces a star here. So you can see how it has a big effect. So those would be the 3. And then these are out, these are out, these are out. I don't know if that's helpful. Okay, well, it has that consequence at the very least. If we, that might be the answer. If we go here, it X's this one out. So we need one here and one here. The problem is none of these are like immediately failing. But okay, so this is the piece of logic I'm seeing now. And exploring the puzzle helps you find this kind of thing, which in the way that I showed. So kind of pay attention to these cells that I'm circling here, these 4 cells. I'm not allowed to put a star in both of these because they touch. And I'm not allowed to put a star in both of these because they're in the same row and the same region and they touch, right? So, but I know I need one of these to be a star. So, okay, I guess we have to include, we include these as well. So, okay, here's what I'm saying. I'm going to use 3 different colors here. We need a star here. And then I'm going to argue that we need a star here between these two, and we need a star here between these two. Now, why is that? Well, because I need to put 3 stars, and I can't repeat here, and I can't repeat here. So here's another way you can think about it if you'd like, which is I can, in any 2x2 area, you can only put 1 star because trying to put more than 1 star, it's definitely going to touch the other one. So in a 2x2 area, you can only put 1 star. So I can make 3 2x2 areas here. And that fully encompasses our dark red, our blue, and our orange. And I'm giving you multiple ways to think about this so that you can have multiple tools in your toolbox here. So what does this mean? Well, it means that I'm going to have a star in each of these 2x2 areas. In each of these boxes, I'm going to have 1 star exactly. Because I need a star for red, I need a star for blue, I need a star for orange. They can't escape these 3 boxes, and you can't repeat within a box. So these 3 boxes will each have a star. So that means one of these 2 will be a star, which we already knew. But it also means one of these 2 will be a star. And it means one of these 2 will be a star. Well, what's important is over here, one of these 2 is a star and one of these 2 is a star. That's all the stars we get for the column. So we can X out the rest of these 2 columns and say those don't get stars because there's going to be one in the orange and one in this box here in one of these 2. Um, Now, can we work off of that, or is that just like just a small deduction here? That's kind of what I saw from exploring. I wonder if we can do more now that we've X'd those out. There's only one way that purple gets this row, which is this star here. Oh no, it did something huge, which is orange is now limited to this U shape here, and that wherever the star is in that U shape, it's gonna touch this cell. So that cell is not a star. Now the rest of purple is definitely going to use this bottom row, so that's not a star, is what I'm saying. So orange is going to have one from this U shape. Green's going to have one from this L shape here. So yeah, we know purple takes the bottom row, and then orange and green take these two rows. That's a little bit of progress. Maybe brown comes into play here in some way. So something we learned, right, is that this box here is going to have a star in it, one of these two. So if we put a star in brown here, then we know that we need a star here. I think we already kind of knew that because it forces a star there and it forces a star there, but something to consider. Um, so the only way any of these are a star is if the brown over here is a star. Um, Ooh, does that mean this can't be a star? I don't know if that's helpful. Okay, this one can't be a star, and I don't. I think this is a completely unhelpful deduction, but I think it's neat anyway. Because if this was a star, it forces this brown over here to be a star, and look at what that does to orange, right? If we put a star here, we've already eliminated from orange over here. We're forced to have a star over here in brown, and by our logic, now that the star's over here in brown, we've used up these two columns between brown and this box, and so the rest of this can't be stars, and now orange has nowhere for a star. So there's probably a cleaner way to talk about that, which is, let's see, which is that we know that this box here, because it fully encompasses orange, has a star in it. And we know that this box here has a star in it. And then we know that this box here has a star in it. And so that's going to use up these three columns. And that's actually huge because that removes these three from purple. Yeah, this box here has been extremely helpful. So now we have a star here, and that finishes green, and that finishes orange. I'm going to get rid of my markings here. That puts the star here in brown. I actually thought it wasn't going to end up there. So how do we continue? We must have a way to continue. Yeah, blue has only one place, and then red there, and then dark red there. Okay, we finished. Took a while, but I think that kind of exploration is what makes this game neat. So that's how I don't know if there was like a cleaner way to get through that, but it felt pretty clean once I'd explored enough of sort of determining that I needed a star in this 2x2 area here. And by forcing that, I'd actually joined brown and orange. And before that, it actually means when we needed a star in this 2x2 and this 2x2, which eliminated the rest of those columns. So that was a really neat deduction to be able to draw those three 2x2 boxes. So hopefully that's a new tool in your toolbox. And if you enjoyed this, why not leave a like, subscribe, and a kind comment below.